Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command. World War II, World at War with our first PvP against SirTravis. It's currently June 6, 1941. We've already done our turn over here in the west, let's call it. We've taken on Germany and Italy and spent all the MPPs we're going to spend, did all the things we're going to do. Now we have Japan. Japan against China. First off, we want to put a new research on the pile. We have some options, the most attractive of which is probably going to be spying and intelligence. So let's go for spying and intelligence, because having that up will nerf his research as well as giving me a tiny little bonus and making it so that we can, spot his units more often. I kind of put it off in the beginning because there were just other things that I wanted way more, but we're kind of beyond that phase now. Down south in China, we have the Republican Guard Army to worry about, I suppose. So let's go ahead and do some light bombing with a medium bomber first and foremost. Doesn't seem like he has anything over to protect it. We've reduced its entrenchment a little bit already. Let's do a tactical bombing next. And we actually took some damage on our elite reinforcements there, which is not too great. We have tactical bombers that are getting ready to join the fight, but they're not up there quite yet. We've gotten the readiness and morale of the Republican Guard Army to get pretty fucked up. Let's move the North Chinese Front Army into the fortifications that he left open for me. We actually have better supply there than here, because supply can move through enemy hexes, as things would turn out. And we have good opportunity to deal a lot of damage on this front here right now. With only an artillery protecting back here at Chongqing, he is quite vulnerable. I'm very tempted on whether or not I split my damage, between the core and this army, or go right all in on this army. I think I'll split it because this guy will get injured if he attacks right now. Let's go ahead and attack the OSS Volunteer Corps with our very elite army. We dealt 6 damage as expected. It took no damage as expected. And with that, then, we could do a swap. It's really the only way I see to really make this work perfectly, or attempt to make it work perfectly. We could also be putting elite reinforcements onto this army, but that would slow us down in its own way. I think I'll go with the slow game here. Let's go ahead and attack with the first Kwantung army, who, can get RD'd from that position, which is so weird to me still. We took no damage though, which is fantastic. So we can move the Central Expedition Army forward, taking this mine for ourselves. And now his RD isn't going to be as useful to him. Now, it's like we need to move up at this point, so we don't have a lot of options, but to do that, we don't have mobility here to be able to move this army all the way forward. So, let's move forward with what we can move forward with. This army can move forward, but, it's so funny, it would end up with more supply way out there. So I suppose we should, I don't know, man. Because we need some defenses. That is very important. This HQ over here is becoming less necessary as a supply hub. It is passing supply, but so is this. This passes some supply this way as well. I don't know, I feel like you should be moving closer inwards at this point, and then I could definitely move you up there at that point. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go ahead and move you up into the hills there, and move the HQ forward from Changsha. And now, the autosave will rudely interrupt me. I hate the devs for implementing this. Whoever made that decision, I hate you. Hope you get fired. And now we have better supply, not perfect, but better supply up front, enough to maintain this as a defensive front anyway. Let's do a prepared attack with the 17th Korean Army against this Republican National Guard. Now that we've weakened them, we've dealt quite a bit of damage. And I could almost get this up here if I had something to swap it out with, but I don't easily have anything to swap it out with. This corps on Kweichow is pretty vulnerable, but the army is simply worth more. So we're going to go ahead and blitz attack that army with our North Chinese Front Army, dealing the 3 promised damage and losing nothing. Let's go ahead and attack the 21st Army that's moved up. Blitz attack. Success. We did take 1 damage that we were not supposed to take, unfortunately, but we can now move the 11th Regional Army forward and get a nice blitz attack in here, dealing 5 damage, 1 more than promised. So all in all, that generally works out pretty well for us. We wiped out a corps, we wiped out an army, and there's another corps on Kweichow that's about to get wiped out if he doesn't retreat it one way or another. Kuei Chao should be mine next turn. That's a lot of progress that just happened really, really quickly. Looks like this is the kind of artillery that only gets 1 shell per turn. Let's go ahead and use that artillery on the Jap Turncoat Army, dealing 1 whole damage with artillery, as well as hurting the readiness and morale of this unit. We have quite a decent thing going on here. We could very easily wipe out this enemy core with a core. Forget about even using an army. What I'm going to do is use the army to wipe out that core. 3 damage dealt, none taken, as hoped for and promised. We will use this core to attack the enemy core there, dealing 3 damage, taking 1, a little bit worse than expected. I'm going to force march the 6th army all the way down south. Right now, we still need to upgrade the 17th army. Might as well get it fully upgraded. It's very expensive to do, but we don't always have very good opportunities to do that. We're going to reinforce the 3rd army here to get that back up to strength. We have an army capable of being sent out. It's just chilling here for right now, but we'll get it next to a port, I suppose. This would probably do. I could get it right over here. This place is kind of crowded, honestly, but we'll try getting it right down here to send it out next turn. We do have a garrison that's ready to go, and so what I'm going to do with that is we're going to move forward a touch. Move this garrison up to Changsha, move this garrison up to Nanchang, take this garrison, drop it over at Fuchao, take the place of the old one. So we got an extra garrison up at the front. We have another one being made, which is good because the extra one will be needed here. We're going to need several more. Definitely going to need more garrisons in the long run over there to deal with all of that. America's only 38% mobilized, so we don't really have to worry about that anytime too soon. We know that we're not going to do the naval invasion at the historical date in December. We're going to do it sometime probably in like mid-42 or something. That's kind of the goal. It's kind of what I've been setting up. So we could definitely afford to go ahead and purchase another garrison. So let's order the 14th garrison because we know we're going to need more, and the focus right now is going to be China until we eventually do go for America, unless he invades me, which I don't think he really believes he can. We'll go ahead and get these tactical bombers closer to the action. We don't have any ground attack weapon upgrades yet, so we don't need to worry about that. There's only range, so we'll just get as close as we possibly can. This corps right here is going to move back to Pakoi, because we're not going to keep all these corps. So we have like 7 armies, basically. We have 7 armies here right now, and that's enough for what I have planned here. It's enough to keep pushing as hard as we're pushing. That core is not really necessary, and the fronts are going to start to squish together. That core will be on defensive duty for Hanoi soon enough, seeing that it's a capital that we will be taking over soon enough. We'll upgrade the air army fighters here with some better long-range capabilities, since they didn't actually do anything this turn, and they cannot get any further elite reinforcements or anything like that. I know that I plan to move this army down south to join the others. It can't get any upgrades right now, that's for sure. It would take a turn or two to really get it over there for what I want, for a full 4-army group, and it would leave our northern defenses pretty light, but I think that's fine. I was tempted to move these 2 forward and go on the offensive on the other side, but 4 armies together pushing into Changchao from the south, that works for me. And then it could also allow them to quickly go into Yichang as well, if that's necessary, kind of splitting up even further. I suppose we'll see. But for now, we're just going to force march that down towards Nanjing, leaving everything else in place. Initially, I wasn't going to do this, but we are going to take the 2nd Kwantung army, and we're going to attack the Pao Tao army right there, dealing 4 damage, taking 1 damage. We dealt 1 damage less than planned, but we dealt a good bit of damage there. He can only reinforce this up to 8, and it was at 9. So I want to spread out his points even more. Reinforcing armies, that's expensive. And so if he's taking that much damage to an army up here, he's got to reinforce it. It's not going to be able to go down here. It's not going to be able to go other places, building new units, doing research, etc., etc. I want him to feel constrained on every side. And hell, we might be even able to get in some decent damage right here. It's iffy, but it could work. I think we'll take the risk. Sadly, we only dealt 1 damage, but we did not take any damage, so that still works out. He's taking a little bit extra damage. He'll have to spread out his MPPs for repairing. And as we push further and further into China, he's going to be making less and less money there as well. We're going to be making more. Although it's not really a great source of MPPs in the long run, unfortunately. But right now we have the benefit of being able to focus there quite a bit and focus on the longevity of Japan quite a bit due to holding the DEI and not having to worry about fighting America until a much later date. We've moved basically everything, and with 25 MPPs there's not really a whole lot that we can do, but there is still something that we can do. For example, upgrading the Fuso battleship to naval weaponry at level 2, and that's pretty much the rest of our MPPs, doing a little bit of progressing towards getting ready for all that naval invading that is to come. However, that is everything definitely that we plan on doing for this turn, so we're going to go ahead and hit end turn, pass it back to him. The loss of Kiev reduces Soviet national morale. That's good for us. And Italy is progressing quickly on the next level of infantry weapons and command and control. That's always great. No special events. Germany is earning quite a bit of MPPs right now, which is great. Italy's going to be paying towards that expeditionary force for quite a while, so only earning roughly 69 MPPs in this time period, assuming they don't lose anything. Japan's income has been pretty consistent, and now the turn has been sent back to him. We're only about not even halfway through the episode, so we'll just wait for him to pass it back to us. Hopefully that doesn't take another 2 weeks. Alright, it's been another 2 weeks IRL, but I haven't forgotten that we're in the middle of an episode. Like 11 or 12 minutes or something like that. And now we have the turn back. I don't remember what we just did, but we're gonna find out and see what he did. He was cheering! Oh yeah, that's right. He messaged me cheering because he got something. Took 2 damage on that bomber. I took none to my fighter. Evaded damage. Okay, so that was a pretty failed bombing run from him. Well, in terms of doing damage. He's failing to make progress in Iraq, still hysterically. Bombing in Ethiopia. Corps attempting to attack, failing against the garrison. It's always good for me. He's trying to move around Baghdad now. I don't know what he's doing. He's bombarding my army next to Vipuri. Oh, yep, he took Kuopio. I knew he would do that. He's really pushing hard. He really wants to take this shit. He really, really wants to take this shit. We took 1 damage to a fighter, dealt 1 damage to his bomber, dealt another 1 damage to his bomber when he went after my artillery. I need to get that fighter up to max. He really wants to take that. He wants to be successful somewhere. I know it. Because he keeps saying, like, oh, don't play the Axis first. The Axis is pain. You just lose everything all the time. Or the Allies, sorry. At the beginning. So I know he's really trying to get something in. Did he just try bombarding a city to do damage? With a light cruiser? I guess he was trying something different there. I don't know what he hoped to accomplish with that. Especially with a light cruiser. But this is why he was cheering. US Lend-Lease to the UK. He was so happy about this. Disrupting Canada, UK, Egypt, UK, New Zealand, UK. Alright. So he's got a lot more MPPs at his disposal now. Destroyer spotted. Oh, he's coming down to get me. Spotted in the North Atlantic. Wow, this is really actually handy. HQ spotted. Fighters in Reading. Reading? I don't know. Alright, so glancing at Finland, of course, he's been very aggressively pushing up here. He's using his navy. He's using everything he has to try to push here, but I don't think it's going to go as smoothly as he thinks. We're definitely going to reinforce these fighters up to max. We're going to upgrade to max the 2nd Corps here without mobility. We don't need mobility. We already have in production another Corps that will be arriving in August, although it's going to be 2 turns from now, not 1 turn from now, just based on how time moves in this game. We have some new units. We have a U-81 sub that we can deploy. Guess I'll just spit that out right here. It's going to go raid the USSR. Japan has some new units as well. We have some garrisons and some other things. Paratrooper. I didn't pay for one of those, I think, so I think it just came as normal. Yeah, I think you do get a free paratrooper. I was mixing this up with my PvE and I thought I already had a paratrooper. Apparently I do not. Well, we'll spit this garrison out first, put it right there. And then, I mean, I could probably spit the other one out right here for now. I got a lot of things that need to be deployed. For Japan, I just don't want that to pop up every time I look at units. But with Germany, we're down to 486 MPPs already, just after, like, reinforcing the Finnish front there. He's being so aggressive, and that's making me want to reinforce the Finns even more. He's trying to get around, very clearly, is what he's trying to do. And he could potentially, I don't know how well he can move through this. The move cost is pretty bad to get there, but you might see him go like 1, 2 and head down here. We could easily just move someone back if he goes up there. We could also, you know, just cut him off. It wouldn't be, well, you could also cut him off just by moving a garrison too, and then redeploy a corps somewhere else. He can't move too far this way because he's not going to have a lot of supply to really be very offensive. Anything he tries to sneak around without having more units would be pretty bad. We could, and I feel we should, probably get another Finnish corps going, because he's trying to do some weird flanking shit here, is what it looks like. Which I don't even know if he has the movement to pull off, even with a mechanized. I just don't think that's possible. Well, I'll tell you what. He doesn't know where this guy is. 7 MPPs, let's go toss you right there. I could have probably moved him down earlier, before this was taken, but I still think this is not the greatest place for him to put anything. So it's not that big of a deal. And I also didn't want him to take this port, but at this point I think getting a little bit of a delay, it won't be fully entrenched, right? But getting a little bit of a delay to stopping him from going around would allow me to spit out that first corps and get it into place. It would cost 197 MPPs to get another corps spitting out. And I think that's pretty important at this point for Finland. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll pay for that. October 2nd. So like 2 to 3 turns after the first one spits out. Yeah, that would give Finland more of a fighting chance and allow Finland to continue to distract some of his more elite armies and everything he has at Leningrad, whereas I don't think we're going to need a whole lot down here. Now, I still need to put points into research, and I only have 282 MPPs remaining, so it's not a lot to be able to utilize. So, what are we putting it into? It's 1941, so the naval preparations don't need to really start yet. Anti-air would be fantastic. Rockets eventually, but that's much lower priority. Fighters would be good. Long range already researching. Anti-air probably more important. Advanced tanks. Ooh, that's a big one. Hold on. That's like infantry weapons, but for tanks. That's really important for Germany. Ooh, and that would leave me with only a little over 100 MPPs remaining. That could slow me down in some places, but I want to keep every turn, just throw another research on so that we can catch up. All right, only 107 MPPs remaining, and we have some injured dudes on the front. We have some subs that need upgrading, so this is a lot to try to spread around. We are kind of spread thin while ordering these new Finnish corps. However, getting them will be pretty good because he's investing a lot of units here that he could just be investing somewhere else while holding a defensive front. Here's a sub that needs upgrades. The upgrades are pretty important to like getting the subs moving, so we'll upgrade the Coast Guard sub. And there's another sub down here that needs upgrading, right next to where he has a destroyer coming down to us, that cheeky little fucker. Oh, this is gonna hold me back so much, but yeah, I'll upgrade that. We'll swap things in and out. I don't know. I guess he's just coming in to try to do whatever attacks he can. I figure he might have more destroyers here. Usually when you spot one ship, it's not alone. And so that could be the case out here as well. Regardless, we're not really going to be going anywhere here anyway. We're right next to a port, which works out pretty well for me, especially in some kind of battle of attrition. Especially because I have 3 subs down here. I'll just leave it the way it is, probably. Because even if I run down south, he could just follow me, and I have nothing down there. So running away from a destroyer is not going to do a lot for me. So we'll just leave this right there, just like it is. Leave the one that has the actual upgrade up front. This guy I'd love to get elite reinforcements on. I would love to. 20 more MPPs though. MPPs I could definitely use somewhere else. But it's not that important. It's not too crazy. Let's just go ahead and give that the elite reinforcements before we set it off, because now that one is just fully set to go off. This one will be going off next turn. These guys just keep swapping in and out due to MPP shortages. 47 MPPs. I kind of know something I want to reinforce right now. Is this fighter? More than likely. This fighter or this tactical bomber. Well, this will get my bombing up and running again up here sooner, and this would just improve fighter coverage. The fighter is worth a lot more. The fighter definitely is worth more MPPs all in all. Only 19 MPPs remaining. That's fucking quick that we got to this point. That's enough for maybe one small reinforcement here or there. it's certainly not enough to upgrade this tank. That's fine. Reinforce this tank, maybe, but we have to see what we're actually doing over there first. For now, though, everything else is upgraded as I would like. And I can continue to rocket Portsmouth. Give it a little bit of MPP damage. Rocket London. This must be the most annoying thing for him. I know he was so confused about how I fucked up Kiev. He's like, what's the point of making a defense if you could just kill the unit on Kiev? I was like, well, for one, it's Kiev. It's not a fortified position behind a river like everything else that you have. This is a town on my side of the river. Of course I took it. But I gave him some little advice on how to play these kinds of games to try to keep his morale high. Thankfully, we're still holding on to Ethiopia. He keeps trying to attack here. Not a lot going in his favor there. I want these medium bombers to go first because of how the enemy air defenses are set up. So I know my target, the aptly named Starving Farmer Cavalry Corps. That's the target right there. Unfortunately, they have pretty good resist, probably because it's calculating planes. So we'll use the one that has a little bit of XP first, just to try to not take direct damage. I just want to lower his entrenchment to give better odds here. You can also go for the anti-air, but we don't have quite as many armies capable of hitting that. So one target at a time. In this case, it's going to be the Cavalry Corps. Wow, we actually took damage. That's incredible. And we dealt 1 damage, and we took 2 damage. Wow, that went really, really terribly. But the amount we could do with the land attacks has gone up quite a bit as well. These are just medium bombers, but still, damn. Let's go attack across the river now. We dealt 5 damage. We took 1 damage. He's getting a lot of damage off on me here. These rolls are going very much in his favor. Yeah, we took at least 1 damage on everything. So we wiped out a cavalry corps from max, but we took 2 damage to these armies. Spread across, 1 to each. We took 1 damage to this medium bomber and 2 to this. MPP wise, that came out either pretty even or not in my favor. Because cavalry corps are pretty fucking cheap, man. Yeah, look at them. 80 base. Whereas reinforcing an army is 16 MPPs per for me right now. So 16, 32. And then I don't know about reinforcing medium bombers. I can't really test that right now. It's going to be something similar to this. 32, 47, math, 62. It's pretty close. Yes, that was pretty 1-to-1 MPP trading right there in terms of total value. Unless he can, you know, remake this for cheaper. Also, that probably came from an event or he got it for free. Still, we at least cleared out a unit, and he doesn't have, I think, a whole lot of MPPs to be replacing things with. This is not what I'm looking for. Reports, graphs, UK MPPs, USSR MPPs. Loss is really high on that first turn. Collected income did go up at the start of the war, so he is getting quite a bit. Compared to Germany, what are we at? We're at like almost 600, or we're at roughly 600. So we're getting a little bit more than the USSR. But our MPPs are being spread out a little bit more, and his is not. Helps that America's probably also sending MPPs here as well. His anti-air protection here is pretty well set up, quite frankly. Unfortunately, my tactical bombers here are not in a radius where they would have supply. My best shot is against these mechanized, but I don't know if that's factoring in the anti-air. So what I'd rather do is try to wipe out the army that's on my side, rather than just try to force through right here. Because we could get a decent attack angle, at least 2 shots off, you know? So let's say fuck it. Let's use, I guess either one of these will do it first. Let's use the one that's better off, because we have to go up against interceptors anyway. We have escorts that can fly. And we dealt 5 damage to his fighters. Why are we using interceptors from up here? I don't know. We took 1 damage to each. Dealt 6 damage to his fighters. Took another 1 damage to our bombers. And we did weaken this army a decent bit. We're going to go ahead with another attack. And his fighter coverage was not able to actually prevent that one. Okay, so we took 2 damage here. 1. So we took 3 damage between those 2. We dealt 6 damage there. That is pretty much a win. And we've set up this to take way more damage than it was already set to take. Holy crap. Even an army that's not even full strength and is fighting through a fortification has really good odds against us right now. So we could probably, potentially, wipe this army out right now. Let's give it a shot. We dealt 4 damage. Took none. Go ahead and attack with this as well. Dealt 4 damage. Took none. Okay, it's working out. Now the game rudely interrupts me with a fucking autosave that takes fucking... how many seconds? Like 10 seconds? Thank you. Thank you for that. Fuck you. I'm gonna move the first army back. I'm gonna move the line breaker tanks forward. And then I'm going to attack, probably, yeah, the 10th army with them. Go ahead and finish that off. 2 damage dealt. None taken, thankfully. That allows me to move up. Probably gonna move up with the other tanks currently. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Up against this mechanized, which is vulnerable, so I am tempted to definitely attack that. Yeah, we won't get much better opportunity with this AA here. So let's try with the line breaker tanks first, because the blitz attack odds are just much better. 3 damage dealt, none taken. Okay. Ooh, the blue tanks don't have as good of odds, unfortunately, but they do have 2 attacks. We're gonna risk it, because a mechanized is very expensive. Okay, we dealt 1 damage, it took none. Alright, shit, dude, 4 damage dealt. Morale readiness, fucked. His entrenchment still very low. He's gonna have to reinforce that again, a good amount. 4 damage dealt. Okay, so this front is working out in our favor for MPPs the further along we go. These guys are not attached to an HQ. We don't have enough HQ power on like either side. We have too many units and not enough HQs, even with max research, which is gonna be a problem. I can't afford to really get any more HQs right now, but at least I'm not really getting new land units, so I guess that could become a priority later. We don't have any more bombing power, but this enemy core in the center here is kind of weak, especially to my upgraded German core. Let's go ahead and try and attack across the river there, dealing 4 damage, more than expected. And we could probably finish it off, although we might have better odds with the 5th core or the 1st Hungarian core here. That's a tough one. I think I'm going to swap the German cores around here. And let's do a blitz attack. 2 damage dealt. None received. The Slovakian ones, technically German. Let's see if we can finish it off with them. 1 damage dealt. And a enemy core has been wiped out. Now I could immediately go across the Dnieper here. But that would be pretty fucking risky. Especially for a non-upgraded Slovakian core. Because he's got these engineers right here. They're probably building. He's got an army, a core. He's probably going to move everything around. It could be good and bad. It could be good because he's going to immediately reshift everything and go on a massive offensive against whatever I move over there. Which is going to keep him from attacking me anywhere else, and it's going to keep him from upgrading or anything anywhere else around here. So that would be the good part. The bad thing would be that whatever unit I send over there would be basically fucked. Speaking of, I have kind of pushed through here. Let me show you what I mean. Take the 2nd Romanian army, we'll move across to Melitopol, and then we'll move, let's see here, the 2nd Hungarian army forward a touch, move the 1st Hungarian corps down here to take the place of that army. Oh wow, we could do some pretty good damage there as well. Hold on with that for a second though. Then, now this part's going to be a little weirder. Okay, this is going to be a really weird move, but I'm going to move the 1st Romanian army across to solidify that we've taken stuff over here. Which means I'm going to move the 5th Romanian corps. Maybe that one up there. Yeah, move the 5th Romanian corps over here to have it continue pushing in that direction. We're going to force march this corps, this German corps down here to take just a defensive position and stop enemy movement. I'm going to move Rommel forward to Zhytomyr, which will improve supply on this front a little bit. Not perfectly, but a little bit. We know we're probably going to want to reinforce this bomber here, so I'm probably just going to move back to Cowell, where it will be in supply, no matter if an HQ grabs onto it or not. So it will have that ability to resupply, no problem. These bombers are probably going to just want to reinforce as well. And, you know, with the HQ situation, we don't actually know how well we're going to be able to do something like that. So what I'm going to do probably is just move them back into Romania. They can't fully get to a town, actually, so you might have to strike that idea. But that leaves this tactical bomber in a better position. And so I'm going to go ahead and move that up as far as it can get. We're going to move this core forward, just kind of take a defensive position right there. It still needs upgrading anyway, and we're not really going to allocate that this turn, but thankfully Rommel at least is moved forward. These two should be in supply. They've usually been in supply so far anyway. He's really putting like his entire army on the front is what he's doing. I doubt he has a lot of defenses going too far back, which is good and bad. It's bad because it's going to slow us down, and stop us from getting resources as quickly. But it's good because he's giving us these opportunities to chew through his men to the point where if we do break through, especially once that winter passes, you know, it'll be more decisive. And when the winter comes, we'll have potentially just chewed through most of his army anyway. However, it looks like we have filled this episode up. So I'll have to call this one here and we'll pick it up on the next one. So for now, hope you guys are enjoying how the series is going. Thank you guys very much for watching and I'll see you on the next one.